Okay, so let's start by finding the Garageband icon, clicking on it, and then creating a new song. The top left hand corner plus to create a new song. And you can see we're in the live loops section here. So you can choose any one of these fantastic live loop sets. I'm going to choose house. And you can see we've got a list of instruments down the side and lots of blue and yellow and green squares. These are cells. I can turn them on by tapping on them and tap on them again to stop. Now some of them are 1 bar long, like that one, but some of them are 2 bars long or 4 bars long. Here's a 4 bar long one. You saw there that the shorter loop moved around faster and the longer loop cycled around more slowly. You'll also notice that the loops don't stop immediately when I press the button, they wait till the end of the bar they're playing. This is designed to allow the music to flow more between loops. It's good practice to stop loops when they're in the final quarter of their cycle so they complete the whole cycle before moving on to the next one, like this. I can also trigger whole sets of loops by pressing the little arrow above the number. And you can turn them off like that. So your first task is to practice moving between loops, making sure that each one completes before the next one starts. You have 5 minutes to explore. This project's about creating great music, but it's also about developing your skills as musicians. So the next step is for us to create our own set of loops. We're going to go back to the loops menu by pressing the loop button in the top left hand side of the screen. And we're going to open the loop set that's called new. There we go. You can see we've got a completely blank slate to add our loops to. And now GarageBand has got 1,638 loops. We can access them up here in the loops menu, but it doesn't mean that they're all going to work well together. So your first job is to choose 4 loops that sound good together. Open up the instruments panel and you can see we can narrow down our choice of instruments. We're going to use a loop first of all that's got a single melody line, so you can choose it from the woodwind, the mallets or the synth sample bank. So I can preview a loop by tapping on it once, and if I want to use it I can drag it into an empty loop space like this. And there it is. The next loop I'm going to choose will create some rhythm. So we're going to choose something from the percussion or drum kits bank. That's the one I'm going to choose, so I'm going to drag it in to the second column to create a diagonal line. If I put it in the top row, it wouldn't be able to play both loops at the same time, and I might want to do that. Now my third loop is going to contain some kind of harmony. So it's going to come from the strings bank, the pianos bank or the guitars bank. So if I go back to my instruments and I'm going to choose a guitar sound, but as I say you can use anything from the pianos, the strings or the slide guitar or the guitar sound. Yeah, we'll have that one. You might take a little more time listening to a few different ones and choosing, but obviously I've done this a couple of times before. The last one we're going to have is going to be a high-pitched sound, so it can cut through all the other sounds and add drama when it enters. So that's a high pitch single sound. You might want to use a voice, but I'm using the flute. So have a go. Add 4 loops to a new live loop set. Next, we're going to create an arrangement of the loops. This means we're going to bring them in one by one as if it was a real song. So let me give you an example. So I used different layers, or you could say textures, to turn the individual loops into an arrangement. Next, I'm going to record this arrangement into the track view page, which we'll see in a minute. I'll start by hitting the red record button, and then we'll get a count of 4 beats before we begin. I'll show you first, and then you can have a go. So I've triggered the first one, and you can see one line of red at the top. And now if you look really closely, a second line of red has been added. So I'll start taking them out. So having lots of combinations of different textures keeps it really interesting for the listener. We're now going to move to our new track view page. So that's the right hand button on the top 3 there. And we can use 2 fingers pinching inwards to zoom out. You can see our 4 instruments and where each loop has entered and left the piece. Finally, if any instruments are too loud, you can open up the track controls like that to fine-tune the volumes using those volume sliders next to each instrument. Finally, we're going to name our piece. Press My Songs in the top left to bring up a screen a bit like a Windows desktop, and that contains all the songs that have been written on this iPad. Now touch the name of the song, it'll be in the top left hand corner, and name it with your own name plus whatever else you want to call the piece.